So do you get extremely anxious when you see the phone ringing? And as soon as you see it light up, it sets off this inner panic inside you. Should I answer it? Should I not? And you end up ignoring the call, and it makes you feel even more isolated. So today I want to talk about this offset of social anxiety, this fear of phone calls or unexpected phone calls, because until you step into your power here, life's gonna be extremely lonely. You're gonna feel extremely lonely, and you're not gonna be able to connect and sustain those deep, meaningful connections and relationships like you want to. And by the end of the video, I'm gonna tell you how you can overcome this fear. So make sure you stay until the end, all right? So let's get into it, all right. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Ruben, and I used to suffer from social anxiety. I was able to fully overcome it, and now I help other men fully break free and never look back as well. Now, the reason this fear of phone calls, the reason it develops, the reason it comes about is because, if I could sum it up in a few words, is because you've lost your voice. And so somewhere during your lived experience, you've experienced times where you haven't been able to stand up for yourself and you've lost your voice in the process. It can happen through bullying experiences. It can happen through harsh parents or authoritarian parents, where you've essentially been trained to not speak and assert yourself and your needs in that moment. And so what happens is it becomes a holding pattern. It becomes an automatic response where you just freeze up and you don't speak outward. And think about it. So if you have this complete holding pattern in your body where you're just freezing up, you're not speaking up in the moment when you need to take action and speak, your body locks up and it freezes up. What you will do is you will overcompensate on protecting your privacy. And the really important thing to get from this is that there's a fine line between protecting your privacy and isolating. And when you don't have that ability to speak up and hold your boundaries, say no, assert what you need, what you want, you will always avoid the situation. Because when that phone call comes in and the person wants to talk about a topic that you don't want to, or they want to kind of pry into your life, something that you're not comfortable with, when you lose that ability to stay powerful, you will just completely avoid. And that's why these phone calls can be so terrifying, because a phone call all of a sudden means that you're giving up your power, because if you answer it, you're going to be giving up information that you don't want to. You're going to be talking about topics that you don't want to, and it's a feeling like you're going to get steamrolled and your privacy was completely invaded. That's what those phone calls start to stand for. And I can totally relate to this, because I absolutely had no ability to speak up for myself. I had absolutely no boundaries. People could steamroll me, get any information they wanted out of me. I would overshare. I would feel completely violated, and absolutely powerless when it came to interpersonal interaction. So I know how it feels to feel absolutely powerless and absolutely feel like you're just at the hands of other people, and they can kind of push all these buttons all over you whenever they feel like. So what I did is I wrote an ebook, and it's going to be really good for you to download. It's going to go into my story, but more importantly, it's going to show you how your mind has been configured in a way that you lose your power, and you essentially lose your ability to speak up and speak out for yourself and say no when you need to. And so you don't need to keep avoiding phone calls, avoiding life. Don't do what I did and try to figure out what was happening for years and years, trying to step into your power, but it never happens. Download the book, read it for free, and it's going to show you exactly why that's happened, so you can start to overcome this powerless feeling that you're having, all right? Now, how to overcome this powerless feeling or this fear of the phone ringing, because you're so scared you're going to get steamrolled by other people. And you have to get really, really familiar with how that holding pattern has set in. In those moments, maybe you're with the authoritarian parent or you're bullied, your fight or flight system was going off. We all have this fight or flight system. We all have this survival mechanism, and what it does, it keeps us alive by putting us into survival mode. So it's going to increase your heart rate, increase your breathing, dilate your pupils, blushing, trembling, shutting down your digestion. That's what this mechanism, that's what it does. And in those moments, whether it's with the authoritarian parents or with the bully, the system was going off But what happened is it ended up being a holding pattern because there was nothing you can do. There was nothing you could do in those moments. You couldn't fight back and you couldn't run away. So what it did is it held in your body as a holding pattern, and this is what you need to get to the bottom of. So start to really study the mechanics of this fight or flight response, start to really know it on a deep, intricate level, and start to become aware of when you shift into it. So when that phone rings, really go internal and really feel the physiology of it and accept it for what it is. That is what's taking place and taking over your body, locking up your mind and locking up your thoughts. Because until you do this, until you really get an awareness and become ultra sensitive and ultra observant of when you shift into this pattern, you're going to keep getting hijacked, and that's going to take your power away. Because when you're in that state, you're not going to be able to speak. You're not going to be able to speak your mind, hold your boundaries, say no, because your body's locking you up to run away from a bear. It's not interested in you, speaking out and you're not trying to give a speech to a bear. So that's the reason. So again, there's a fine line between protecting your privacy and being isolated. And if you're starting to feel really isolated, that means you've gone a little too far to this side of the spectrum and it's time to get your power back. How do you do that? You get really familiar with that fight or flight system. You get really familiar with how it feels. Start accepting it so that it doesn't have such a holding pattern over your body. And every time you do that, every time you accept it and fully experience it, it loses power over you, so you can step back into your power. And if this message resonates with you, what you can do is join my private Facebook group. We have a great group of guys. They're holding a safe space, a supportive space, and they're gonna hold space for you and listen to you, hear you, and they're gonna really understand what you're going through because they're going through the same thing. They also have this fear of the phone, and you're gonna get that validation and support that you need. So I'm gonna link it below the video. You're more than welcome to join. I'm in there as well. You can ask me questions and have my guidance along the way, and we'd love to have you in there. So all right, so join us on the inside. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. All right, peace.